Hello friends, my great pleasure to welcome you to my channel as a graphics and multimedia. My name is Rafi Yakubu right here, and in today's video you are going to learn how to create fantastic Trifold Brochure to bring 3D template in Photoshop step-by-step tutorial. But before we dive deep into tutorial, if you are very new to this channel, remember to click on the subscribe, turn on the notification bell so each time I post content about Photoshop design, you'll be notified. So with that being said, let's get started. The first thing you want to do is to come to the home tab right here, and make sure you click on file. Then you have to click on new. So the next thing you want to do is to come to the top right here, make sure you title your design fantastic Trifold Brochure. Then you come to the width, make sure you type in 11.691 and the height should be 8.267. Your resolution should be 300, and then your color mode here should always be CMYK. Finally, come down below here and make sure you click on create. Next thing we want to do is to go to our toolbar right here, and we have to click and hold down. Then we make sure we select rectangle tool. Having selected rectangle tool, we have to come to the property, and we make sure shape is checked. Then we can change the color from here to another color of our choice. The next thing we want to do is to make sure we click once into the artworks. This is going to pump up, and this is going to pump up. And then what we want to do here is to change some of the figure. So for the width, we need to type in 3.897 inch. Then we need to move to the height column right here, and we change the figure there. So what we need to do is to type in 11.691 then inch. So we are done. Then what we need to do next is to click on OK. So we are going to have something like this, and we have to come to the move tool right here. So the next thing we need to do is to come to the home tab right here. We make sure we click on select, and we click on all. Then right here we need to align to horizontal center and align to vertical center. Then we go back to select. We make sure we deselect. All right, so we can close this window right here. We don't need this property window. Next thing we want to do is to drag our ruler, both vertical and horizontal. Then we make sure it snaps to each of the shape right here. So the next thing we need to do is to duplicate this layer. We have to come to the layer panel. We right click on the layer, then we make sure we click on duplicate layer. So this can be copy one. So this to copy one right here, we have to come back to the layer. We double click on the layer thumbnail. So what we want to do here is to change the color, and we have to click on OK. Next thing we want to do is to go to the home tab right here. We go to select. We click on all. What we want to do next is to make sure we align this to the left edge. Then we go back to select. We make sure we deselect. Good. Next thing we want to do is to come to the layer. We right click on the layer again. What we want to do here is to make another duplicate, and we click on OK. Then we go back to select. We make sure we click on all. Then we have to align to the right edge. Then we go back to select. We make sure we deselect. Boom. So what I'm going to do next is to go back to the layer right here. I'll press Shift key on my keyboard and select the rectangle 1. Then I'll come down below here and make sure I group. So this group layer right here, what I'm going to do next is to make sure I disable it. Next thing I'm going to do is to go back to my toolbar right here, and I will click and hold down. Then I have to select my pen tool. Having selected my pen tool, I have to go to the top right here. I will make sure shape is checked. Then I can leave the color for now. Then I have to come to the workspace, and I will make a shape this way. Then I'll go back to my shape tools right here. I will click and hold down, and I'll make sure I choose my custom shape. Having chosen my custom shape, I'll come to the top right here. I'll click on here, and I'll make sure I select this particular shape. Then I'll come back to the color right here. I'll make sure I change the color. Next thing I'm going to do is to draw my shape tool. I'll press Shift key down and draw a perfect. Then I'll go back to my move tools right here. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is to make sure I go to the home tab right here. I'll click on edit, then free transform. Then I will right click. I'll make sure I flip to 90 degree. Then I will right click again. I will make sure I flip to horizontal. Boom. Then I'll make sure I snap it to the shape like right here. Then I have to come to the layer right here, layer panel. I'll drag this behind the first shape. Next thing I'm going to do is to locate this layer right here, and I'll come back to the layer panel. I'll make sure I create a new layer. Having made a new layer, then I'll just press Ctrl plus to zoom out. So what I'm going to do next is to go back to my toolbar right here, and I'll click and hold down and make sure I select my pen tool. Then I'll come to the property from the top right here. I will make sure shape is checked. Then I can change the color to another color here. Then from the top right here, I have to make shape this way and straight down like this. So the next thing I'm going to do is to make sure I go to my background layer right here. Then from my background layer, I'll have to go back to my toolbar again. I'll make sure I select my pen tools. Now we have to go back to the pen tools property from the top right here. We'll make sure our shape is still checked. Now we have to change, we have to unfill the color right now. Then we have to come to the stroke color. So we can change the color to a light gray, and we need to maintain a stroke width only. Then we can start from the top right here. Then we press Ctrl key down to cut. Then we can come to the top right here and increase the stroke width. So what we want to do next is to go back to our layer panel right here. We make sure we create a new layer. Then after we create a new layer, we have to go back to our shape tools right here. Right now we need to make sure we make fill available. Then we have to come to the stroke here. We make sure we disable the stroke. Then we need to come here and make another shape. Alright, so we have to go to our move tool right now. So next thing we want to do is to locate this particular shape right here. Then we have to come to the layer. We right click on the layer. We make sure we click on duplicate layer, and we click on OK. Alright, so next thing we want to do is to go to the home tab right here. We go to select. We make sure we click on all, and then we have to make sure we align to the left edge. Then we go back to select with the select. So this duplicate one right here, we just need to take it to the top a little bit. Then we have to make sure we come to the layer panel right here. We drag this to the bottom of the fifth shape. Good. So next thing we want to do is to go back to this group layer. Then we have to drag it to the background layer right here. Then we have to make it visible. Next thing we want to do is to make sure we locate the inner shape, and we make sure we disable it. We locate this one right here. We make sure we disable it. While this one right here, we make sure it enabled. So we are going to double click on the layer thumbnail right here to bring out the color. So we are going to change the color right here, and we click on OK. Then we have to name this image layer, and we click on OK. So the next thing we want to do is to right click on the image layer. We make sure we duplicate it. So this is going to be a copy, and we click on OK. Then the copy one right here is what we are going to use. Then we are going to disable this, or better still, we enable this and we disable the copy on. So what we want to do now is to locate this particular layer. Then we have to go to our home tab right here. We go to file. Then from file, we go look for place embedded. Now we come to the layer right here. We right click on the layer, and we make sure we click on create crippling mask. Then we come to the blend mode right here. We switch from normal to luminosity. So we have something like this. Next thing we want to do is to locate this layer. We go to home tab right here. We click on file, and we look for place embedded. Then we come to the layer right here where I click on the layer, and we create clipping mask. So the next thing we want to do is to add appropriate color to the brochure. So we can start from the big shape right here. We locate the layer, and we double click on the layer thumbnail. Then you can see the color code I use right here, and I'm going to hit on OK. Then I have to locate this layer right here. Then I will double click on the layer thumbnail. Then you can see the color code I use right here. I'm going to click on OK. Then I have to locate this layer right here. Then I will double click on the layer thumbnail. Then I'll use my color dropper to pick on this color, and I'll click on OK. Then I have to locate this layer right here. I'll double click on my layer thumbnail. Then I can pick my color from here. So you can see the color code I use right here. I'm going to right click, I'll highlight, I'll make sure I copy it, and I'm going to click on OK. Next thing I'm going to do is to make sure I locate this layer. Having located this layer, I'll come to the toolbar right here. I'm a layer panel. I'll make sure I create a new layer. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to go back to my toolbar. I'll click and hold down. I'll make sure I select my pen tools. Then from pen tools, I'll make sure I change this to shape. Then I'll make another shape right here. Then I'll come to the layer right here. I'll double click on the layer thumbnail, and I'll come to the color code right here. I'll make sure I press Ctrl V to paste the color code, and I'm going to click on OK. Then I'll come to the blend mode right here. I'll change it from normal to multiply. So you're going to have stuff like. So at this point now, the next thing to do is to add text to our Trifold Brochure. So let's check it out.